What's up, y'all? It's Sarah Kate here with Billy Scott Real Estate. We're back for another podcast episode. As you can see, we have some accessories. Accessories this week. Accessories this week. What did you say when you put them on?
I'm like,
so funny.
You can hear my lisp.
He's like, this is crisp. It's weird. Okay, I understand. We've never worn these before during a podcast or anything. And like, yeah, I can.
It's sharp.
Yeah,
like
it's very sharp.
On point.
My voice, like I'm like, this is like ASMR. Like I'm like,
oh, you can hear all of it. All of it. Yeah.
Sorry to everybody listening. I couldn't resist. Okay. Anyway, well, I'm gonna do something kind of fun this week. I found some kind of mainstream videos that, you know, a lot of people watch and people they're not like celebrities. They're more like, I mean, kind of, but they're more like entrepreneurs and businessmen and people who have a voice that society listens to. So I want to get Billy's reaction on some of them. And they're about real estate. So I was like, perfect. But I've got like a couple that I want you to watch, and then I want you to tell me like what your thoughts are on it as an agent based on just what your opinion on like true, not true, yes, some truth, not some, you know, like I'm just curious what you think. Yeah, but we'll just play the first one. We'll see what you think.
Well, can they see what's on the screen right now?
Yeah. He's got it split screen.
So is this
they can see us and the video.
All right. I think it's Drake.
No, he literally goes, wait, is that Drake? Isn't he in some dispute with Diddy? And I'm like, no, that's Kendrick Lamar. Oh my gosh.
I don't
so old.
Let's say you buy a house for $100,000. You only put down $20,000. You put 20% down. The bank gives you the other $80,000. Then
leverage.
You put $20,000 into the property to fix it up, which is value add. That property now goes up to $200,000. Then you can go ahead and do a cash out refinance, and you could pull out what, 70%. So let's say it's worth $200,000, right? So easy numbers. You get $140,000. That $140,000 that you get out of that property you purchased, guys. Remember, you only put in $40,000 of your own money into the deal. Now you're getting $140,000 out. You can take that $140 tax free, which is the key, and roll it into buying another asset that's going to make you more money. This is how the wealthy stay wealthy.
That off.
And your tenant pays it off. You ain't paying it. Your tenants are.
Right.
So why not continue to do that and buy and hold? So that's why strategy is so powerful, guys.
Love it.
True or not true?
True.
Oh! Hey, it's Harvey.
True. Now, my first gut feeling is you buy a property for $100,000. You put $20,000 down, you finance $80,000. Let's make sure we clarify something.
Yeah.
If you've got $100,000 properties right now, locally, just in our local market, most likely they're unfinanceable.
Yeah.
So your financing would have to come from hard money lender.
Okay.
So like a cash lender, or possible conventional lender, as long as it can get accepted. But if it needs a lot of upgrades, it needs a lot of safety, environmental things like that, depending on loan type, whether it's VA or FHA or conventional, the lender will have requirements of the condition of the property that they can loan on. And there's conditions that have to be fixed to make it financeable. So as long as we're apples to apples and we got $100,000 property as the example, and it's a financeable property, 20% down is $20,000 on 100. 80% loan to value, that's your LTV. That's a wonderful strategy. And then if you only have to put $20,000 into it, now you're $40,000 out of pocket. Like you said, you do the 70% cash out refi at $140,000 on a $200,000 value. Not a lot of properties can you put $20,000 into and gain $80,000 more equity. That's a scenario. It does happen. It's not as common.
Okay.
But you know, there's certain things like sellers will say, well, Billy, what if we remodel the kitchen? Or what if we do this and we do that? There's certain things that you may only get 50 cents to the dollar on upgrades, so don't do it.
Yeah.
So, well, if we spend $25,000 and we put in granite countertops and we paint all the new, you know, cupboards and flooring in the kitchen, all new appliances, and we spend $25,000. Well, that's great. It's going to be appealing for certain buyers, but it may not be what some buyers want. So some buyers may not see the value in that brand new upgraded kitchen. And you may only sell the house for $12,000 more than what you would have, 50 cents on the dollar, give or take on 20, So sometimes it'll make it more appealing and have more buyers compete. There's a time and a place to put money into a property and to get the upgrades paid for. But a lot of times it's when you've got problems, fixing those will lead to more money.
Yeah.
Instead of just like, I've got a perfectly good working condition, but it's outdated. So I just want to update everything. Update it because you want to make it your own and you want to make it custom in your home. You're not looking so much on dollar for dollar of how much you're raising the value. You're doing it more because this is my home and I can afford to do it.
Right.
But you don't always get paid dollar for dollar back in certain situations.
But if it's a rental and it's really like good bones, but really we just need to put some money in it, update it a little bit so it's more appealing. We can justify a higher rent cost.
100%.
Then it pays. Yeah.
Exactly. That scenario, it's a great scenario. Like there's a lot of good strategy to that. There's a client of mine, he's buying properties in Ohio, and there's a couple agents buying property in Ohio.
Yeah, I've heard of that.
And they're getting properties that are 3-bed, 2-bath, like standard, quarter acre lot for $125,000.
And they never even see the property, like in person.
No,
like
they have a person working for them there, like an agent there.
Send it to them. Oh, looks good.
They pay a fee, a finder fee to have them help broker the deal. But that's the market in that part of Ohio. So it's just like in Georgia or, different states in the South. Like there's a lot of good affordable housing in different parts of the country and different parts of, certain states. But there's always a catch-22 with it.
Yeah.
Your income's different there.
Yeah.
Your money can go pretty far in Texas. Like you can make a decent livable wage.
No income tax, but
and get affordable property. So every state, every scenario is different.
Yeah.
If you said, well, Benton County, Oregon, well, what part of Benton County? Are you talking, South Corvallis? Are you talking North Corvallis? Are you talking two different parts of town? It's not just county. Like there's so many different, parameters to that.
Yeah.
Well, I just want to live in Philoma. Well, what part of Philoma?
Yeah.
Are you wanting to live in town? Are you wanting to live in the newer development? Are you wanting to live in the older? Like it all depends. Your location, is it a main street out in front of your house? Is it more of a back street?
But for like investments too, it really does depend on where you're purchasing.
Yeah.
Right?
100%. But think of like when you make an investment, investing in it for a renter might not be the same mentality as investing in it for the long-term flip of selling that home.
Right.
For example, say you have a 20 to 30-year-old neighborhood that, 20, 30 years ago is a brand new subdevelopment. It was the nicest houses in the town. Well, over 20 or 30 years, it's no longer the nicest houses in town. That's more of the older subdivision or older neighborhood in general. And as things get older, they become more affordable to people that couldn't afford them when they were new. Just generally speaking.
Right.
And then the newer neighborhoods are more expensive than the older neighborhoods are. And people that can afford those can step up into those or step down. So some of those more affordable houses then start turning into investment properties and turn into rental neighborhoods and not so much single family residence owned neighborhoods. So like a brand new subdivision isn't normally a rental neighborhood. The homeowners that are purchasing the new home are usually living in that home.
Right.
It's their primary residence. It's not their secondary investment.
Right.
It's because of affordability.
Right.
Buying a brand new home, you'll have to bring a lot more cash to the table to be able to offset what you need to get for, renting out a 3 or 4 bedroom house on a brand new top of the market house. But on a house that's 15 or 20 years old, you've got more equity in it. You've probably got more skin in the game. Your loan to value is a lot less. Renting it out as a 3 bedroom house based on local rental rates, you can usually make money and offset having that rental, and it's cash flow.
Yeah.
It's harder to do that on a brand new home, paying top market value.
Yeah.
So that's how I look at the rental strategy. But I'm learning as I go, and I love asking people about it, and I love getting different perspectives because
There's a lot of different opinions on it.
So many. And like my wife, she flat out says, oh my gosh, I never want to deal with renters ever. And me on the other side, I've always wanted to own a duplex or like a fourplex and have renters, and always think about, oh my gosh, if I could just put one of my kids into one of those units out of a fourplex, they get to build equity. They get to, you know, manage it, oversee it, and then rent out the other 3 sides and make their rent affordable.
I have a friend that did that. Yeah.
Like, it's genius. And the loans that you have out there for a owner occupy investment property on a duplex, threeplex, or fourplex. Oh my gosh. If you're thinking about this, it's the cheapest way you can get into a multifamily property is when your kids can go do it, and they got to live in one of the units.
Right.
But oh my gosh, the strategy behind it is if you can afford it, it's great.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Well, let's watch the next video.
Oh, yes. This is a good one.
I own 15,000 houses.
15,000 houses. Okay. Which you give it out for rent.
Yeah. So nothing wrong with buying a house.
Yeah.
Difference is I use debt to buy it.
Okay.
And I pay no taxes. It's not the house. It's not the stock. It's not the bond. It's your brains. In 1971, this became debt.
Okay.
The only way it's created is somebody has to borrow money. So in your credit card, there's no money in your credit card.
Right.
There's no money anywhere. So the moment you use your credit card, money is created. And they need people to borrow money. So when I go to a bank and I say I want to borrow $20 million, I get huge tax breaks because I'm creating money. But if I use my credit card, I get nothing.
Wow.
What do you think of that?
It's genius.
Tell me what's genius about it?
My wife and I, we joke about, ooh, that's a different tax bracket. Because I like to dream big, and I like to look at things on a scale bigger than me, bigger than what I can ever afford. And
Don't we all?
You know?
Yeah.
And sometimes she'll just look at stuff and go, yeah, different tax bracket. Keep walking. Come on. All right. She hummels me pretty quick. I mean, that's just big-minded thinking. I mean, how do you even...
Could you imagine owning 15,000 homes?
No. All I can think of is I'm trying to do the math in my head of like his average rental rate per month times 15,000 is like, oh my gosh, that's his monthly cash flow. But I mean, he has people to manage his property management. He has people in place.
He probably has a property management company that he owns.
And he buys his time and his leverage.
Yeah. But he started out with one home.
Yep.
Right.
And that's, I'm not there yet. I haven't bought my first investment.
Yeah.
But people have asked me, like, now that you're in real estate, like, are you going to get into it? Oh, hands down.
Yeah.
It's not if, it's when, and it's going to happen.
Yeah.
And it'll probably be next year in 2026 that we make our first investment property.
Yeah.
I want to go into this winter more prepared than I was last year to just have 6 months of no income.
Yeah.
And to continue pushing marketing, running business, and paying payroll and moving forward and growing the business, and not be in the mindset of like, be real careful. Like, no. We believe in what we're doing. We're putting in the time. We're spending the money. Like, we're investing in what's to come, growing our business and helping clients.
Yeah.
And like, I don't want money to get in the way of business growth just because times are harder.
Yeah.
Like,
100%.
I do not want to have a relapse of last winter.
Do you agree with what he was saying? And if maybe I'm not understanding this right, but he said he uses debt to purchase. And you've talked about that a little bit with like when we talked about credit cards. You're like, yeah, I uses someone else's money to buy it, right? And then you're like, all balance transfer or whatever. Like you know, you go on. And I'm like, oh, I don't okay. But like, do you agree, disagree that it's like, if you were going to go buy an investment, would you just go in and buy cash, or would you, do a hard money lender or something like that?
Well, from what I've learned, and I'm still learning it, so I'll be the first one to say, like, I haven't done it yet. I've advised some people on it and talked to a lot of people. We've done a lot of trainings on it.
Yeah.
I think of last week with our training with Chase is like, there's people that are big income earners.
Yep.
And there's people that are building wealth.
Yes.
They're two separate people.
They're very different.
Because I feel like, okay, Like we've had some bigger income years and go,
Yeah.
oh my gosh, we're making more money. Like this is
Yeah.
great. We're
Not
investing
wealth.
back into the business, but it doesn't mean it's wealth. Because if I die tomorrow,
Yeah.
are my kids taken care of? Is my wife taken care
Right.
of? Like, do we have wealth, or is it like time to get a second job
Yeah.
to offset money that's not coming in? Then that's
Yeah.
not wealth.
Mm-mm.
That's just you rode high on the hog while you had it, but when you don't, you starve.
Yeah.
It's the sink or swim kind of,
Yeah.
feast or famine kind of mentality. And understanding that putting money into building wealth, even if it's 10% of what you're earning, just continuing to invest in building wealth so you have passive income and it's just no touch money. Like don't ever look at it coming in. It just
Yeah.
automatically goes away. So trying to get my mind wrapped around what Chase was talking about last week.
Yeah. And what
Um,
Christina said, don't put all your investments into real estate or into just the stocks. Like have multiple buckets that your investments are in
Yep.
in case things are shifting.
Yep.
Like she said, like when the market crashed, she was like, we were okay because we had investments in other things.
Yeah.
Right. Super wise.
Very.
Yeah.
And then another thing is like Christina was saying, say you sell a property and somebody says, oh my gosh, I want to own a rental property and I'm going to be able to buy this for $300,000.
Yeah.
And I've got $100,000 or, whatever it may be. I'm going to put $100,000 down and then I'm only going to finance 200,000. And it's like, whoa. Wait. You're going to rent out that property, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if you could get financing, putting $50,000 down, let's say 60 because that's 20%.
Okay.
Let's say $60,000 down. Now you could take $60,000 and go buy 2 properties for $60,000 down a piece. If you had $120,000 to meet the 20% or 25% parameters.
Yeah.
Instead of putting more on one, divide it in half and go, wait a minute, buy one.
Yeah.
And then go put the other money down on another one. Now you have 2 rentals.
Yeah.
Not putting all your eggs in the one. And some people are so just like, well, I just want the lowest payment possible. It's like, well, there's a balance of land rich, cash poor.
Mm-hmm.
Like they own multiple rentals, but they starve when it comes to cash flow. Or market rents are below average and they're never going to get caught up. But they have great equity in their properties, but they don't know how to leverage it.
Right.
And there's a lot of people that have good equity in their property or own them outright, but they don't feel they can go buy another rental.
Yeah.
You could take $100,000 out of a property that you own and do a cash out refi like the gentleman was talking about, and then go apply that and split it up into 2 new rental properties, get renters in it, and then it's now you're getting multiple cash flow.
Yeah.
And that's the strategy of let your money make you money, but be able to borrow because you can leverage against your assets.
Yeah.
So that's something I want to do more of and kind of learn more and do it. And there's a lot of people that go, I would like to not play on the stock market and I'd like to just do some hard money loans and partner with people that can go invest in these properties, do a 3 to 5 year balloon, turn around and you may pay a higher interest rate, but in the end they got you into something that you can't get into yourself.
Right.
It comes at a price.
Right. Yeah.
And then you cash out, refi out of it, and then it's easy bank financing from there and you roll that equity into the next one. Sounds so simple. Why am I not doing it?
Well, and when you're married, right? Like you got to be on the same page about it. Like Steven and I weren't really on the same page about turning our house into a rental. Like he wasn't really against it, but he just had some reservations with it. And then it was like, we just came to an agreement of like, okay, let's rent it out for a year and let's see how we feel.
Yeah.
Right. And, cause it's a year lease and it's like, we'll just play it by ear and we'll just see, and it's like, I don't know. Do it scared, I guess.
Yeah, but think about it this way. Out of a 30-year mortgage, somebody else paid your mortgage for one of those years.
Yeah. No, it's still a lot.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. No, and I looked at how much, I was like, wait, how much money are we really paying, a year? It's like, gosh. Yeah.
Yep.
And then somebody's paying that for you.
Yep.
And you're getting the equity. It's like.
My wife's biggest fear is what happens when a tenant trashes your property or doesn't pay rent and then they're stuck there for 3 months and you still got to pay the mortgage.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's legitimate.
Yeah.
Screen harder.
Yep.
Hire harder. Don't ignore the red flags because you want to get a tenant in there so bad.
Yep.
Hire a property management company that does this for a living.
Yeah.
And there's different parameters you can put in place to avoid a lot of that.
Yeah.
And mitigate the amount of it happening.
Agreed.
But I get it. When you hear the horror stories, it puts you on guard.
It does.
And
does.
she worked at Timber Hill Meadows when they did a lease up, 8-10 years ago. And in that first year, they were almost at 100% capacity.
Yeah.
But the amount of units that would overturn, and they'd have to go in, brand new building, brand new high-end apartments, charging the highest rent in Benton County, and how tore up some of those were was mind-blowing.
Yeah.
But you had tenants that didn't understand the value of the dollar.
Oh, yeah.
That their parents were paying their tuition, and it was just guaranteed excess funds.
Or like
driving $100,000 sports cars.
Or that's just how they live, right? Like they're just like, they don't see it any different.
Yep.
I think apartments are a little different too. Like that's what I've been learning is like, it depends on like where your house is, kind of quality of people that, can afford the rent of the home you have. That's a big factor.
Yep.
I think when people get into mass rentals, they might not care as much.
Yeah.
But yeah, when you're smaller, it's like, well, yeah, it's still a risk. It is.
Totally. Now, before we jump on to the next video,
Yeah.
something that Robert Kiyosaki was saying about he borrows $20 million. Why would he do that on his credit card? He can do that and borrow it and then get a ton of tax breaks. I want to learn more about that.
Yeah, me too.
Not that anybody's going to loan Billy Scott $20 million.
Don't say
but
never.
Can you imagine?
You never know. We got to get into bigger rooms, Billy.
Bigger rooms, that's right. Glover. All right.
He's not saying don't buy real estate. No, that is not.
I own more real estate than everybody watching right now.
Right. Don't buy where you live.
Don't buy where I live. I don't need to own where I live. What I want to do is I want to own real estate that I can rent to others. I only want to own what pays me every month. Okay. Like I don't buy land. Nobody should buy land. That's a speculation. Okay. I would buy land if it was producing oil. And if I was getting a pump every month, right? If I got a check, if I only buy things that give me checks.
So my first thing is there's a lot of people that would say they're not making any more land. So buying land is better than not investing.
Yeah.
100%. And where you buy land is another. So we've had some rental or some properties that we've helped sell or attempted to sell out in Christmas Valley. It's 4 hours away from the Willamette Valley.
Yeah.
It's kind of in the middle of nowhere.
Yep.
It's got a small town. It's got, a tractor supply, a restaurant, a gas station, and just, a hardware store.
Yeah.
But population, probably 500 is my guess.
Yeah, it's very
Not a lot. And then you're an hour and a half between the next big towns, Bend or wherever.
Lapine, yeah.
Yeah. And it's not like people live there. They live their everyday lives. There's a few jobs there. But when you talk about investing, that's an example that comes to mind in land. Like, okay, you can go buy a 5 or 10 acre lot for $5,000 to $10,000.
Yeah.
Flat out 10 acre lot.
Yeah.
Now, if you go buy a quarter acre lot in town, it may be $150,000 to $300,000.
Yeah.
So it's all perspective of what land are you buying? What type of land is town growing towards that direction?
Right.
What does the land have for amenities? Does it have a septic and a well?
Yeah.
Is it just bare ground with nothing around it? And it's going to be 100 years before town ever catches up out there?
Yeah.
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 So, but can you go to Corvallis, and if there was a bare lot, do you think there's a premium on that land?
Yeah.
100% with nothing there.
Well, you think of like, so North Albany, when I was growing up, there were subdivisions, but they were older and like just forest and fields.
Yep.
Like there were lots and they were bigger lots. And like my grandpa, like he owned a big section of the hilltop and then like sold off nice sized parcels.
Yep.
But now they're offering farmers enough money and they're taking the fields and they're developing them.
Yep.
Well, if you would have bought land back when it wasn't worth very much then, right? You buy one of those fields and maybe you just sit on it. But like for me, that was 15 years ago.
Yep.
Almost 20. Yeah. 15, 20 years ago. If you would have bought land then and just sat on it for that.
Yeah.
They're selling it for a lot.
Yeah.
Right. And so I get what he's saying, right? Like, why would you buy land? And that's, I agree in that sense. Like, I'm not going to buy land if I'm not going to make money off of it.
Yeah, and he's talking cash flow.
Yes.
So like when you talk cash flow, you're talking on the monthly, what does it provide me?
Yes.
Now, on
Yeah.
the long term, would it provide more cash flow? It's worth more tomorrow than it is today.
Right.
It's a different level of cash flow, but
Yes.
it's like, it's buy it and sit
Yeah.
instead of like, buy it, I want my return.
Yeah.
Buy it and get, money in, money out, money in, money out. Like, that's cash flow on the monthly basis.
Even like Sweet Home and Philomath,
Mhm.
logging towns,
Mhm.
like small, but like now Philomath is one of the most desirable towns to live in because it's outside of Corvallis. Corvallis is getting more claustrophobic, right?
Yep.
It's expensive. Philomath is still expensive just because it's in Benton County, but like it is on the outskirts, like it's growing out.
Yep.
And it's gonna continue to grow out. I mean, it is because they're not making any more land and there's lots to develop, really.
Totally.
And same in Sweet Home. Like I know people out there who bought like a rundown house 20 years ago, couple acres, nice property. Wasn't really great when they bought it, but they fixed it up. It's beautiful. It is worth so much more than it was. And it was far out there, right? And I still consider it kind of far out there. I'm like, to Costco, it's like 35, 40 minutes. But, it's like, but I get what he's saying, yeah. As far as cash flow, if that's your end goal, like absolutely buying land that, you can timber or whatever. Yeah. But, and then sell it to a developer. I mean, that makes sense.
Yep. Well, if you think of like when he talks cash flow, it's two different strategies when you're talking land and then like rentals. So he's just going, land, you're not going to get a monthly payment, generally speaking.
Right.
It's a long-term game. And you got to be able to afford to just be able to buy it and pay on it with nothing coming back.
Yeah.
Now, rentals for cash flow properties, that totally makes sense when it's, hey, I've got money to be able to put out. I want to be able to offset that and have somebody else pay my mortgage and, rent right back. And then it's money in, money out. And then it's like, you're not going negative every month.
Yeah.
You're breaking even or going to the positive.
Right.
But think of it. Say you bought a rental and you broke even for 5 years.
Yeah.
And the same money it costs you each month for your mortgage and your taxes is the same rent. Let's just say hypothetically for 5 years. Would that be a no-brainer? A lot of people would go, well, I didn't make any money. What equity did you get over that 5 years of how much that's worth 5 years later?
Right.
Which is worth it.
Yep.
Now, secondly, did you get any tax breaks over the 5 years? Did you do any repairs or remodels or anything that you got a tax break on? Like, now when you look at it like that, instead of just dollar in, dollar out, a lot of people just look at that. Just like, I'll just stay renting instead of buy a house. Well, it may cost you more to go buy a house, but are you looking at all the other perks that you get?
Yeah.
Talk to your financial advisor. Talk to your lender. Talk about the perks. Talk about the direction in the hot markets where stuff's on the rise on a higher percentage than average. Those are the things you want to look at on some of those instead of just dollar for dollar.
He makes more money by owning houses that other people pay the mortgage on than he does if he just owned a house.
Yep.
Right. So I think because people have taken what he said. And at first, when I heard what he said, I was like, it was a different clip, but it was like, nah, I don't own a home, just rent. And it's like, I only rent homes. Like, that's ridiculous. Like, why would I own a house? Now he has said like he owns houses, but he's like, but I have enough money that it's like, I know it's a bad investment, but like, that's where I want to live and it's fine. You know, he's in a different tax bracket.
Yep. Different tax bracket.
But for someone who's not investing, they're not really interested in cash flow of properties, renting just a house with no investments, I don't think is smart.
Agreed.
Right.
I can't justify that. I mean, having a primary residence, like what we do for the quality of life, I think your primary residence is something that you want to be proud of and you want to work towards, and you want to work towards ownership.
Yeah.
Now, there's a lot of financial advisors that say, don't pay off your mortgage if you got a low interest rate.
Yeah.
But there's nobody that has said, man, I regret paying off my mortgage.
True.
Right? Because when you pay off your own house, no matter what happens in the world, you own that house.
Yep.
And you owe nobody.
Yeah.
So.
And you can do whatever you want. Like I was telling Steven, I'm like, I didn't really think about it till we own the house. And now that we've moved out of it and we're renting it, I'm like, wow, like I really don't ever want to rent again if, God willing, that never happens. But like, just because, it's true. The freedom you have and like the feeling of like we didn't own it outright. Obviously we don't, but like that feeling of like, okay, we own it. We're making payments to the bank. The bank technically owns it,
Yep.
but we can paint it whatever color we want. We can do whatever we want to landscaping. Like the freedom that comes with it,
Yep.
and knowing our mortgage isn't going to change in a sense of going up.
Yep.
We could refinance and make it lower if that happens. But yeah, but with rent, I mean, it's like it keep going up. And for him too, where he's at, he can rent like really nice places, right? So, I mean, it's just, yeah, different tax bracket, different opinions. But I like what he's saying. I like the big thinking. That's a different perspective than I think a lot of people are willing to talk about.
Yeah.
I really like it.
Yep. Thinking outside the box.
I know.
All right.
Owning a house and buying a house and taking out a mortgage and taking on debt ain't all that it's cracked up to be. The Realtor Association of the world has done a great job of saying renting is throwing away money, because that's what the American dream was 50 years ago. Buy a house, 2-car garage, picket fence, 2.2 kids. That's what the American dream is. The American dream today is economic freedom. Pick and choose wherever the hell you want to go. Keep it moving and stay flexible and keep your overhead low. So what people forget is that, all right, you know that if you're going to buy a place, first thing you're going to look at is the mortgage payment, right? So typically, I mean, the last 6 months, it's gone from 3% to 6%. That's double. I'm not a mathematician, but I'm pretty sure 3 to 6 is double. But the three things that people forget about when they go to buy a house, and for those of us that have bought a house, they get it now. Those of us that have not is what I call the big three expenses. That's your taxes, your maintenance, and your insurance. Those are three things you do not have to pay for if you're renting.
Yep. But they're also things that you get tax write-offs to bring down your taxable income. And they're not factoring in building equity in a house. So think of 08, 09, the people that bought houses during the recession when stuff wasn't selling. Who were the biggest winners in 2020 to 2022? Who made the most money during that 2 to 3 year span?
People who owned homes.
People that bought in 08, 09,
Yeah.
they bought at the lowest point of the market
Yep.
because they saw the potential of the long-term gain.
Yep.
And who do you think was crying that they didn't buy?
Yeah.
The ones that waited,
Yeah.
the ones that were saying, oh my God, don't buy, the market's trash. Well, buy when you can afford to buy.
Right.
And if you ride it out and you can afford to make that payment and you see the equity in the gain,
Yeah.
because some of those people made double their profit from what they purchased that home for less than 15 years prior.
Yeah. Well, Steven, we were talking to Chase, Steven and I, and our coach, and we were talking about investing because Steven came for the wealth money portion of our GPS training. And Steven he goes, man, like I wish I would have bought a house in his previous job because he was making really good money, and it was before COVID.
Yeah.
He's like, I wish I just would have bought a house. He's like, but just his experience of growing up and stuff like that, it was just different. Like, it wasn't like, this is the things you have to do and you should buy a house. And, it was just different. Like the worlds we kind of came from and the way money was viewed and different things like that and priorities. But knowing what we know now, he's like, man, I get it. And I had to pull teeth to get him to buy a house. Like, he was just like, no, like, we don't need to. That's expensive. And like, I remember taking on our mortgage and being like, it stretched us. It did. It wasn't like half of our income, because they say like that's a bit much. Right. But it did stretch us a bit because it was double our rent of what we were paying at the time. And we had cheap rent, but it was double. But like, I don't know. We haven't regretted it, Yep. Like I don't know. And I keep talking to people who are renting and I'm like, I don't know. I get the economic freedom thing, but I'm like, but is it really freedom to pay someone else's mortgage and have your rent continually go up and like you can get kicked out? Like, you know what I mean? Like they can just sell the house. You have to move. Like, is that freedom? I don't know. But
I feel like sometimes when you're talking with people that are just closed-minded, sometimes there's no way around it. Yeah. And it's like, hey, we agree to disagree. Yeah. How about we look at this stat? The wealth of renters and the wealth of homeowners. Yeah. And when you look at that stat, look it up. I don't want to quote it, but it's like the average wealth of a renter
Yeah.
is like $20,000 or something like that.
Yeah.
But the average wealth of a homeowner
Mm-hmm.
is like 200 plus. Like
Yeah.
whatever it is, it's like 10 times.
Yeah.
And that's just stats.
Yes. Because it's over time.
And you go, wait, well, why is that? Well, when 70% of America's wealth is built through real estate,
yeah.
that's 2/3 of the people building their wealth through real estate.
Yeah.
And if the average is renters' wealth is usually this, I'm not saying that you can't be wealthy and rent. Like these guys are some perfect examples of the strategy behind it. But generally speaking, you're going to be way wealthier and be able to build wealth over time by building equity, and land is going to be worth more tomorrow than it is today. That investment and the tax perks behind it, it'd be hard to convince me otherwise of going away from that strategy on just basic math.
Yeah. So here's my question that I was thinking about. So if you own a home, your monthly payment is $2,400 a month. $1,700 of that is just interest. $300 of it goes to your principal, which is really paying the home, right? That we call it principal. And then $400 of it is your taxes.
Okay.
Over the course of the loan, don't you end up paying more than the home is worth? Double?
It's almost double.
Double.
So say you buy a $400,000 house.
Yeah.
Like by the time you pay on it for 30 years, if you just make the minimum payment, it's like $750 to $800 that you would purchase that thing for.
Yeah.
It's almost double.
Right. So looking at that, why would somebody want to buy a home on a loan when they're going to end up paying more over the course of the loan than what they bought it for?
Good question. Let's use the theory of, and these are all numbers. We don't have set interest rates for these mortgages, anything like that.
Yeah.
Just looking at industry averages, things like that.
Yeah.
Okay. Say you save money for 10 years to be able to buy a property for cash.
Yeah.
How much equity did you lose in that property?
Mm-hmm.
And do you think that property is now going to cost you a lot more 10 years later for the same dollar?
Mm-hmm.
And do you think your dollar is going to be worth more 10 years later?
Yeah. So the difference between the house and say a car is that even though you're going to end up paying almost double or could pay double over the course of the loan, the value will go up. The equity that you're building also is going up. So your interest isn't going to outrun the value as much.
It's a gamble.
It's a gamble.
It's a gamble.
Versus vehicles, it's like dead set that like
it's a given.
Yeah. Like you're not going to make more than you bought it for. Although people did during COVID.
Yeah.
That was a fluke thing, but
in all your years, how many times, let's say I'm 41. In 41 years, I don't know of any other time besides in 21 or 22 when our vehicle was worth more 6 months later than when we bought it. Yeah. I mean, it was a fluke. I mean, with COVID, factories shut down, work shut down, demand was still high, supply was low. It drove the price the opposite direction.
Right.
But can we comfortably say out of that 41 years, over 40 years of that time, when you drive a vehicle off the lot, it is now worth less.
Yeah.
And it continues to drop because a vehicle is a liability and a home is an asset.
Yeah.
Assets grow and liabilities depreciate.
Yeah.
Generally speaking. I'm not saying if you bought an old classic car and it's in mint condition and you took care of it, that it's not worth more 40 years later. I'm not saying that.
Yeah.
There's anomalies to it.
There's luxury things like that their value definitely does appreciate.
Yeah. But there's people that finance vehicles for 7, 8, 10 years and they wonder what their car is going to be worth at the end of that loan, and it's going to be not much.
Yeah. Yeah.
Your loan balance and your value is shrinking rapidly. It's not an asset. It's just costing you money, but that's a way of life. You got to have a reliable rig to get to work, to go make money, to live life and have freedom.
So
that's the cost of it.
If you have to spend 10 to 20 years to save up to buy a $300,000 to whatever, $400,000 house, you're thinking is really you're losing equity and you're paying rent at the same time, which is expensive, and it's still the cost of a mortgage.
Yep.
So except, right, it's like, well, but even though at the cost of the mortgage, like, yeah, you're still paying interest. Yeah, it's definitely, I love the thought in the mindset of like, yes, you are going to end up paying around double, but the amount of time that you lose in having equity on a home,
Yep.
you're not going to be able to catch the value if you wait.
Yeah.
Right? Because it's just going to keep going up, and you're going to lose out on 10 years of value.
Yep. Well, I'll just call it a close loved one. I won't say the name. Asked me at our luau a couple weeks ago and said, "My rent's $1,500 a month. Why would we ever go buy? Like, we got it great.
Yeah.
Like, we've got a great little piece of property." And I pretty much close-minded in a sense was like, well, if that's how you're going to look at it and not think about your equity and your tax write-offs and your benefits and everything that you build over time and your freedom to be able to go do things to your property, like add a barn or build a shop or expand or whatever you want, it's yours to do with.
Yeah.
It's your investment to make more valuable in the eyes of the buyer for when you go to sell it.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean it's your forever place.
Yeah.
But you ain't selling your rental that you don't own just because it's cheap rent. There's more factors. It's just like when you go to sell a property, so many people look at the price, but not the terms.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, your cheap rent only tells part of the story. Let's talk about the terms of what it's costing you to just pay cheap rent. And sometimes it may not pencil financially.
Yeah.
You don't have enough saved up. You don't have enough money down to go buy a decent property.
Got to get your credit in order.
Like,
debt, whatever.
There's order of operations with it. But generally speaking, you know, and statistically, like looking at odds, it's more beneficial to take on a mortgage. And when the right time to buy is when you can afford it, when you're disciplined to afford it and you can ride the wave.
Right.
It's not to go, well, I'm only going to do it for 1 year. Well, that's, you know, it's a long game.
Yeah. Yeah.
Whether it's, you know, keep it for a couple of years and rent it out and roll some of your equity into the next property or whatever. Or if it's like, live in it 2 to 5 years, sell it and roll that into your next step up property.
Yeah.
Live in it 5-10 years and sell it. Or is it every 2 years you just sell to turn around or rent out? I mean, let your equity borrow against it, use it as a bank to roll into the next opportunities that you get to put money down and have more cash flow for the next rental. Like let that work in your benefit.
I think what I've learned, especially just, I mean, we hear real estate every day, right? We talk about it every day.
Yep.
With all kinds of people. And I think one of the biggest things is like, it really is being open-minded, being willing to talk to different people who have different opinions. Just like all those people we watched, they all have different opinions on things, right? A lot of things I actually think they all probably align on, right? But I think, gosh, like when you're listening to stuff like this, especially like online, it's like, don't just take one piece of information and run with it.
Totally.
Right? Be open-minded, watch different things, talk to different people, especially like more local experts in your area. And just, I don't know, be curious. Like that's the thing. Like, I feel like Steven and I right now, we're just in a place of like curiosity. We're just watching, we're just waiting. We just want to be a sponge. We just, you know, want to gather insights and information and wisdom and guidance and like, and then kind of let that mold and shape our way. Right. But that's like the biggest thing that I've seen, like, cause I watch a lot of stuff online and some of the stuff I don't agree with, but like, I totally get it. Like Grant, he's like, I don't buy land unless I'm going to make something off it. For me, like, we can't rent and just own houses because where we want to live, you can't really rent something like that unless you really know somebody like in your family. Because we want land to live on, right? And we're willing to, buy the house and live in it, and we'll have other rentals of different properties, and that's fine. But like, we want that, and that is wealth to us, right? The quality of life we get to live, like you've talked about that, like raising your kids on property, like we want to have that. So, you know, it's like, he's not wrong. I don't think any of these people are wrong.
Nope.
It's just different opinions and like different things of how you want to live your life. And you've got to just be a sponge and take in information and decide, does this fit my goals for my family and the way that I want to live? And I think that's just the bottom line when it comes to real estate.
Yep. Well said. Well said.
All right. Peace out. No, thank you guys so much. That was fun. Did you like that?
Yeah. I like it. I mean, and it's educational. I mean, there's things that I'm learning from them as well. Like the Kawasaki or Kiyosaki, Richard Kiyosaki. Thinking of the strategy of borrowing money from a bank using tax advantage instead of borrowing money on credit.
Yeah.
Because I've played more of the credit game towards balance transfers, and that's low tax bracket. A little peon level, not the tax bracket that he's dealing with. But I look at it as, when I do that, I want perks. I want to get miles or points or something from what I'm doing in addition to what I'm already doing. Which is the same kind of thing
he's talking about, just with tax breaks.
Why do the same thing when I can get a benefit of this over here? Wonderful.
Yeah. I love that.
So.
Well, thanks for watching and being a good sport.
Yeah.
He literally came in and he's like, what are we doing today? And I'm like, you'll see. But thank you guys for hanging out with us and watching Billy's reactions to some real estate hot takes. And I appreciate it. And like we were talking about, like, we're not claiming to know everything about everything in real estate. Like Billy said, we're still learning. Like, we're sponges, and we're in the industry talking about it every day, but like, we want to learn and educate as we're learning. And it's just, I don't know, it's fun. It's fun when you're not a know-it-all and you get to learn, I think. So keep coming from curiosity. If you guys have any videos that you want Billy to like react to or something, send them to me, and I'm going to vet them and make sure, do not send me inappropriate stuff. I will be not happy with you. So you might get blocked from sending
Remember,
DMs.
She went to her first liquor store at 24, folks.
I'm a good girl. I'm only going to go to the rodeo tonight and drink a couple beers and party, okay? Not too hard.
A little St. Paul shout out.
I got to work tomorrow morning. All right, y'all. We'll see you guys later.
Awesome. Thanks for watching.